The rejection email arrived at 9:14 in the morning, while Maya was still in her pajamas, holding a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. Thank you for your interest in the position. After careful consideration, we have decided to move forward with another candidate, She read it twice, then a third time, as if reading it again would somehow change the words. It didn't. The words stayed exactly the same, cold and final, like a door closing somewhere far away that she couldn't even see. This was the 11th rejection in 4 months. Maya was 29 years old, living in a rented apartment in Bristol, England, with a degree in graphic design that felt, more and more, like a piece of paper with no real value attached to it. She had once believed that talent and hard work were enough. That if she designed well enough, applied enough, tried hard enough, the universe would eventually say yes. 11 rejections later, she wasn't sure she believed that anymore. She set her phone down on the kitchen counter and stared out the window at the gray Bristol sky, the kind of sky that seemed to match her mood almost too perfectly. Heavy. Closed. Without light. Everything I touch falls apart, she said quietly, to no one, to the empty kitchen, to the cold coffee in her hands. She didn't know it yet, but that sentence, said so casually, so automatically, was about to become the exact thing she needed to understand, and eventually unlearn. Maya's older sister, Priya, called later that afternoon. Priya was the opposite of Maya in almost every visible way. Calm where Maya was anxious, settled where Maya felt scattered, content where Maya constantly felt like she was chasing something just out of reach. You sound exhausted, Priya said, after Maya explained the rejection email in a flat, tired voice. I am exhausted, Maya admitted. I'm exhausted from trying. I'm exhausted from hoping things will work out and then watching them not work out, over and over. I don't even know why I keep applying anymore. There was a pause on the line. Can I tell you something? And I need you to actually listen, not just wait for your turn to disagree with me. Maya rolled her eyes, even though Priya couldn't see her. Fine. Go ahead. I think you keep attracting the same outcome because you keep carrying the same energy. Maya groaned audibly. Please don't start with this again. Just listen, Priya said, her voice patient but firm. I'm not talking about magic. I'm not talking about wishing on stars or anything like that. I'm talking about something much more practical than you think. Energy isn't practical, Priya. Energy is the thing people talk about when they don't have real advice to give. Is it? Priya said. Then explain this to me. When you walk into an interview feeling confident, prepared, like you genuinely believe you deserve the job, how does that interview usually go? Maya thought about it, despite herself. Better. Obviously better. And when you walk in already defeated, already expecting rejection, already telling yourself, this probably won't work out anyway, how does that interview go? Maya didn't answer right away. That's not magic, Priya continued. That's energy. It's real, it's measurable, and it's something other people pick up on, even if they can't explain exactly why. You think the universe is against you. But maybe. And just consider this for 1 second, maybe you've been broadcasting defeat for so long that defeat is the only thing coming back to you. Maya wanted to argue. Every logical part of her brain wanted to dismiss this conversation as the same vague spiritual talk she had heard 1,000 times before, usually from people selling expensive courses or crystals or journals with gold lettering on the cover. But something in what Priya said stuck with her, uncomfortably, like a splinter she couldn't quite remove. You've been broadcasting defeat, That night, lying in bed, Maya found herself replaying the last several months in her mind, not just the rejections themselves, but everything that had surrounded them. The way she had walked into interviews already rehearsing apologies in her head. The way she had described herself in cover letters with phrases like, I understand if I'm not the right fit, before anyone had even read past the first paragraph. The way she had told friends, family, even strangers at parties, job hunting has been a nightmare, nothing ever works out for me. She had said that sentence so many times that it had started to feel like a fact about the universe rather than a description of a temporary situation. Nothing ever works out for me, She sat up in bed, suddenly uncomfortable with how easily that sentence had become part of her identity. The next morning, Maya called Priya back. Okay, she said, without even saying hello first. Explain it to me properly. Not the vague version. The real version. What do you actually mean by energy? Priya laughed softly, clearly pleased. All right. Let's start simple. You know that everything in the physical universe, every object, every person, even your thoughts, is technically made of energy, right? That's not spirituality. That's basic physics. Atoms vibrating, electrical signals in your brain, everything is, at its core, energy in motion. Okay, that part one actually remember from school, Maya said. Good. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your thoughts and emotions also carry a kind of energy, a frequency, if you want to use that word. When you're feeling fear, doubt, scarcity, nothing ever works out for me. Your entire body responds to that. Your posture changes. Your voice changes. The micro-expressions on your face change. People around you, even without realizing it consciously, pick up on all of that. So you're saying it's not magic. It's body language and tone of voice. That's part of it, yes. But it goes deeper than that too. Your internal state doesn't just affect how others perceive you, it affects what you notice, what opportunities you act on, what risks you're willing to take. If you believe nothing will work out, you stop trying as hard. You give up faster. You don't follow up on opportunities because some part of you has already decided it's pointless. That's not the universe punishing you. That's you, quietly sabotaging yourself, one small decision at a time, without even realizing you're doing it. Maya was quiet for a long moment. That's actually kind of terrifying to think about. Why terrifying? Because if that's true, then I've been doing this to myself. 4 months. Maybe longer. Yes, Priya said gently. But here's the good news hidden inside that terrifying realization. If you created this pattern, you can also uncreate it. This isn't something happening to you from the outside. This is something happening through you. And that means you have more control than you think. Maya didn't fully believe it. Not yet. Old patterns of thinking don't dissolve in a single phone call, no matter how convincing the conversation feels in the moment. But something had shifted, even slightly. A small crack of curiosity in a wall that had felt completely solid just a day before. Okay, she said. Let's say I believe you, even just a little bit. What do I actually do about it? You can't just tell someone to think positive and expect their entire life to change. You're right, Priya said. And that's exactly the mistake most people make when they hear about this stuff. They think it means forcing yourself to smile while ignoring real problems, pretending everything is fine when it isn't. That's not it at all. That's actually one of the biggest misunderstandings about manifestation. People think it means lying to yourself. It doesn't. It means becoming aware of the energy you're putting out, and then deliberately, consciously, choosing to shift it. How do you consciously shift something that feels automatic? The same way you build any other skill, Priya said. Through practice. Through awareness. Through specific exercises that, over time, retrain how your mind and body respond to your circumstances. I didn't always think this way either, you know. 5 years ago, I was exactly where you are now. This surprised Maya. You were. I don't remember you ever struggling like this. That's because by the time you noticed the change in me, the work had already happened, quietly, mostly in private. Let me tell you what actually shifted things for me. Maybe it'll help you too. Priya's story began almost a decade earlier, when she was working in a job she hated, in a relationship that drained her, surrounded by what she now called a fog of low expectation. I used to wake up every morning already tired, Priya said. Not physically tired, emotionally tired. Tired of hoping things would get better and watching them stay exactly the same, or get slightly worse. I complained constantly. I noticed everything that was wrong before I noticed anything that was right. And the strange thing is, the more I focused on what was wrong, the more wrong things seemed to appear. That sounds like exactly what's happening to me, Maya admitted quietly. I know. That's why I recognized it so quickly in you, Priya said. The turning point for me happened almost by accident. I went to a friend's wedding, and I sat next to an older woman, maybe in her 60s, who I'd never met before. We started talking, just small talk at first, and somehow the conversation turned toward what I was going through. I expected her to give me the usual advice. Work harder. Be patient. Things will improve eventually. What did she say instead? She asked me one simple question. She said, "What are you paying attention to all day?" And I didn't really understand the question at first. I said something like, "I don't know, just life, just everything happening." And she said, "No. Be specific. When you wake up, what's the first thing your mind goes to? When something good happens, do you notice it, or does it slide past you while you're busy noticing what's wrong?" Maya felt something tighten slightly in her chest, recognizing the question as one she had never actually asked herself. I sat with that question for days afterward, Priya continued. And when I actually paid attention, really paid attention, to where my focus went throughout the day, I was shocked. I noticed every single inconvenience. Every rude comment. Every bill that arrived. But the good things. A stranger holding a door open, a project going smoothly, a compliment from a coworker, those just passed by, barely registered, like background noise. So what did you do? Maya asked. Just, decide to notice good things instead. It's not quite that simple, but it's close, Priya said. The woman at the wedding told me about something called the energy audit. It sounds a bit dramatic, I know, but stay with me. For one full week, every single night before bed, I wrote down everything I had focused on that day, not just events, but my internal reactions. Where did my mind go when I had free, unstructured moments? What did I complain about, even silently, in my own head? What did I appreciate, even briefly? That sounds exhausting. It was uncomfortable, more than exhausting, Priya said. Because what I discovered was that roughly 80% of my mental energy was spent on frustration, comparison, or worry. Comparing myself to people who seemed to have it easier. Worrying about money I didn't have yet. Frustrated about a job I hadn't even tried to leave. Only a small fraction of my attention was going toward anything resembling gratitude, hope, or genuine engagement with my own life. And you think that imbalance was causing your bad luck? I don't like the phrase, bad luck, honestly, Priya said. Luck implies randomness, like dice rolling without any pattern. What I experienced wasn't random. It was consistent. Consistently negative focus, producing consistently negative outcomes, not because the universe was punishing me, but because my focus determined my actions, and my actions determined my results. The energy audit didn't change the universe around me. It changed what I was capable of seeing and doing within it. Maya wrote that phrase down on a notepad she kept by her bed, energy audit. Okay, she said. Let's say I try this. What exactly am I supposed to do, step by step? 3 things, to start, Priya said. And I want you to actually commit to these, not just listen and forget by tomorrow. I'm listening. First, for 1 week, every night, write down what you focused on that day. Not what happened. What you focused on. There's a difference. 2 people can experience the exact same day and focus on completely different things. Second, every morning, before checking your phone, before letting the world tell you what to think about, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be huge. They can be as simple as, I have hot water this morning, or, my coffee tasted good. The size doesn't matter. The consistency does. Third, and this is the one most people skip, even though it might be the most important. Whenever you catch yourself saying something like, nothing ever works out for me, stop, and immediately replace it with something more accurate. Not fake positivity, but accurate honesty. Instead of, nothing ever works out for me, try something like, this particular thing didn't work out, but I'm still learning what does. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about being precise instead of catastrophic. Maya looked at her notes. They seemed almost too simple, embarrassingly small compared to the size of the problem she felt she was facing. This feels too easy, she said. Priya laughed. Everyone says that. And then they try it for 1 day, decide nothing has changed, and give up. The truth is, you didn't build 11 rejections worth of defeated energy in 1 day. You're not going to undo it in 1 day either. But if you protect these 3 small practices, even when nothing seems to be happening, something does start to shift. Quietly, at first. Then, eventually, undeniably. That night, Maya sat at her kitchen table with a blank notebook in front of her, one she had bought months ago for a journaling habit she had abandoned after 3 days. She opened to the first page and wrote the date. Then, beneath it, she wrote 3 things she was grateful for, feeling slightly foolish as she did it. Asterisk 1. My apartment is warm, even though it's cold outside. Asterisk. Asterisk 2. Priya called me today, even though I didn't ask her to. Asterisk. Asterisk 3. I still have the skills I had a year ago, they didn't disappear just because 11 companies said no. Asterisk. She stared at the third line for a long moment. It was the first time in months she had described her situation that way. Not as proof that she was failing, but as evidence that she still had something worth offering, even if the right opportunity hadn't appeared yet. It was a small shift. Almost nothing, really. But it was the first brick. By the 4th day of writing in her notebook, Maya noticed something she hadn't expected. It wasn't that her life had transformed. No job offers had arrived. No miracle had happened. But something smaller, something almost invisible, had begun to shift. She was starting to notice her own thoughts. Before, her negative thinking had been like background noise, constant, automatic, unquestioned. Asterisk nothing ever works out for me. I'm not good enough. Why do I even bother? Asterisk these thoughts had run on a loop so familiar she had stopped hearing them as thoughts at all. They had simply become her reality, the water she swam in without realizing she was wet. Now, for the first time, she could catch them in motion. She would be making coffee, and the thought would arrive, you'll probably never find a job you actually like, and instead of absorbing it instantly, she would pause, almost like watching a stranger walk past a window. Asterisk there it is again, asterisk she would think. That same old thought. And then, awkwardly at first, she would try Priya's 3rd practice. This particular thing didn't work out, but I'm still learning what does. It felt strange. Sometimes it even felt a little dishonest, like she was performing optimism rather than feeling it. But she kept doing it anyway, because Priya had warned her this would happen. It's going to feel fake at first, Priya had said. That's normal. You're building a new pathway in your brain, and new pathways always feel unnatural before they feel automatic. Don't wait to feel like it's working before you keep doing it. Do it because you decided to, and let the feeling catch up later. On day 6, something happened that Maya almost dismissed entirely. She was scrolling through a freelance job board, not even a serious job board, more of a casual site she checked occasionally out of habit, when she saw a posting from a small design studio in Bristol looking for a part-time freelancer to help with a rebranding project for a local bakery chain. Under normal circumstances, the old Maya would have scrolled past it. Asterisk part-time. Probably underpaid. Probably won't even respond to my application. Not worth the effort. Asterisk. But this time, she caught the thought before it fully formed, the way she had been practicing all week. Asterisk this particular opportunity might not be perfect, but I'm still learning what works. Asterisk. She applied. Not with desperate, apologetic language like she had used in her previous 11 applications, but with something closer to simple confidence. She didn't write, I understand if I'm not the right fit. She wrote about her actual design experience, attached 3 of her strongest portfolio pieces, and ended the email with a clear, direct sentence. I'd love the opportunity to bring fresh energy to your bakery's brand identity. She read that sentence back before sending it. Fresh energy, she almost deleted it, feeling slightly embarrassed by the word choice. Instead, she left it, hit send, and closed her laptop before she could second-guess herself further. The response came 2 days later, faster than any of her previous 11 applications had ever responded. Asterisk Hi Maya, thank you for your application. We loved your portfolio, particularly your work on the local coffee shop rebrand. Could you come in for a quick chat this Thursday? Asterisk. Maya read the email 3 times, the same way she had once read her rejection email 3 times, except this time, the repetition wasn't disbelief, it was something closer to cautious hope. She immediately called Priya. They responded, she said, barely able to keep her voice steady. They actually responded, and they want to meet. That's wonderful, Priya said, genuinely delighted. How do you feel? Maya paused, considering the question seriously instead of brushing past it. Different. I feel different than I usually do before an interview. Usually I'm already rehearsing how I'll explain why it probably won't work out. This time I'm actually thinking about what I bring to the project. That's the shift, Priya said. That's exactly what I was talking about. You didn't get this opportunity because you suddenly became more talented than you were last month. You got it because you showed up differently. You wrote that application from a completely different energy than your previous 11. Thursday arrived, and Maya prepared differently than she had for any interview in months. Instead of spending the morning anxiously rehearsing apologies for gaps in her resume, she sat down and did her morning gratitude practice, even though her hands were slightly shaking with nerves. Asterisk 1. I have a meeting today that I actually want to attend. Asterisk 2. My portfolio represents real work I'm proud of. Asterisk 3. Whatever happens today, I've already proven to myself I can keep showing up. Asterisk. She walked into the small design studio. A converted warehouse space with exposed brick walls and large windows letting in soft afternoon light, and met Tom, the studio's creative director, a man in his 40s with paint-stained fingers and an easy, unhurried way of speaking. The conversation flowed naturally, nothing like the stiff, rehearsed interviews Maya had endured throughout the previous months. Tom asked about her process, her inspirations, the story behind specific design choices in her portfolio. Maya found herself talking with genuine enthusiasm, not performing confidence but actually feeling it, because for the first time in a long time, she wasn't bracing for rejection while she spoke. I like your energy, Tom said near the end of their conversation. A lot of designers come in here trying too hard to impress me. You're just present. Talking about the work because you actually care about it. Maya almost laughed out loud at the word he chose. Energy. She got the project. It was only part-time work, only one client, only a modest payment compared to what a full salaried position would offer. But it didn't matter. Something had shifted, and Maya could feel it, not in dramatic, sweeping terms, but in small, undeniable ways. She finished the bakery rebrand project within 3 weeks, delivering work that even she was proud of, a warm, inviting visual identity built around hand-drawn illustrations and a soft, approachable color palette. Tom was impressed enough to recommend her to 2 other clients before the project had even officially ended. Within 2 months, Maya had gone from 11 consecutive rejections to 4 active freelance clients. She hadn't gotten dramatically better at design in those 2 months. Her skills were essentially the same skills she'd had during those 11 rejections. What had changed wasn't her talent. It was the energy she carried into every application, every conversation, every opportunity she encountered. One evening, several months later, Maya sat across from Priya at a small cafe in central Bristol, the same kind of grey sky hanging over the city outside the window, except this time, it didn't seem to match her mood at all. I want to understand something, Maya said, stirring her tea slowly. I'm not asking this to argue. I'm asking because I genuinely want to understand it properly now. How much of this was really about energy, and how much of it was just me finally trying differently because I was forced to pay attention? Priya smiled, clearly having expected this question eventually. Honestly? Both. That's the part people often misunderstand about all of this. Energy isn't some separate, mystical force floating outside of your actions. It's the thing that shapes your actions in the first place. When you believed nothing would work out, you wrote rejection-shaped emails. You walked into interviews already defeated. You skipped opportunities that felt risky, because some part of you had already decided risk wasn't worth it for someone like you. And once I started shifting that belief, you started acting like someone who expected things to work out. You applied to that bakery job instead of scrolling past it. You wrote a confident email instead of an apologetic one. You walked into that interview present instead of bracing for failure. None of that was magic. But all of it was energy, expressing itself through your actual behavior, in ways most people never consciously notice. So manifestation isn't about just thinking positive thoughts and waiting for the universe to deliver? Maya asked. No, and I think that's the biggest myth surrounding this whole idea, Priya said. People treat manifestation like ordering from a menu. Think about what you want hard enough, and it magically appears, with no effort required. That's not how any of this works, and frankly, that version of the idea has made a lot of people feel like failures when their lives didn't transform overnight just from thinking nice thoughts. Then what is it really? It's alignment, Priya said. It's making sure your internal state, your beliefs, your focus, your expectations, actually matches the life you say you want, instead of constantly contradicting it. You can't authentically want success while simultaneously expecting failure at every turn. Those two energies cancel each other out. Real manifestation is the slow, consistent work of aligning what you believe with what you're trying to create, and then taking the actions that belief naturally produces. Maya nodded slowly, finally understanding something that had felt abstract and slightly absurd just months earlier. It's strange, she said. I spent years thinking hard work alone would be enough. Then for a while, I almost went too far the other way, thinking maybe none of the practical effort mattered, only the energy. But it's actually both, isn't it? The energy shapes the effort. And the effort still has to happen. Exactly, Priya said. Energy without action is just wishful thinking. But action fueled by aligned energy, that's something completely different. That's what actually moves things forward. Maya thought about the version of herself from that gray morning months earlier, sitting in her kitchen with a cold cup of coffee, reading her 11th rejection email and whispering, almost as a fact about the universe, everything I touch falls apart. She hadn't fully realized, at the time, how much power that single sentence carried. Not as a magical curse, but as a quiet, repeated instruction to her own mind about what to expect, what to notice, what to attempt, and what to give up on before even trying. She thought, too, about the small, almost embarrassingly simple practices that had slowly rebuilt something inside her: 3 lines of gratitude each morning, an honest audit of her own thoughts, a single sentence repeated whenever doubt arrived. This particular thing didn't work out, but I'm still learning what does. None of it had been dramatic. None of it had felt, in the moment, like it was changing anything at all. But months later, sitting across from her sister with 4 active clients, a growing reputation, and a steadiness in her chest that hadn't been there before, Maya understood something she could never have understood from the outside, no matter how many times someone explained it to her. Energy wasn't something separate from real life. It wasn't a magic trick layered on top of effort and luck. It was the quiet current underneath everything, shaping what she noticed, what she attempted, what she believed she deserved, and ultimately, what she received in return. Outside the cafe window, the gray Bristol sky remained exactly the same as it had been on that first defeated morning, months earlier. The weather hadn't changed. The world outside hadn't transformed into something easier or kinder. What had changed was something quieter, something carried entirely within Maya herself, the frequency she brought into every room she walked into, every email she sent, every opportunity she now recognized instead of dismissing. She didn't believe, anymore, that the universe owed her anything, or that simply wishing for success would deliver it without effort. But she believed, finally, completely, in something simpler and more useful than either of those extremes. She believed that what she carried inside herself, her focus, her expectation, her quiet, repeated beliefs about her own worth, wasn't separate from the life she was building. It was the foundation of it. And foundations, she had learned, could always be rebuilt, one small, deliberate brick at a time.